Hello everyone. This is Professor X from Sthit Pragya Learning Community. Prelims are nearing less than a month to go, and I hope that every one of you are working very hard and giving every ounce of your energy to this preparation for the last petty. Doing my part here, I have tried to synthesize patterns from 2018 to 2025, taking both CSE as well as UPSC CDS papers, and then trying to chalk out which are the sources which UPSC is using for framing its questions. And these questions can be both from static point of view as well as current affairs point of view. Which are the themes which they're choosing? In what way are they fusing these questions? Which are the sources of current affairs which they're using to even frame their static questions? And I have tried to consolidate all of that into 360 plus high probability topics for 2026. Well, I cannot claim to predict UPSC, and anybody who does that is actually fooling you. But what I have seen or what I've observed is that if you're able to do these 360 plus topics, they will give you very high confidence and will give you a feeling of fullness so that you either see some gaps in your preparation and you're able to rectify it, or you can do very quick revision within a few minutes after going through this series and these videos once you understand these topics deeply. So these 360 topics are distributed among 9 sections from polity and governance, economy, environment and ecology, geography, science and technology, history and art culture, international relations, defense and internal security, and social issues and schemes. So we'll try to cover, you'll see that in each of these sections, there would be multiple themes, and in each of those themes, you would find multiple topics. So this we'll start with this. Before that, we are Sthitpragya Learning Community. If you want to contribute to the community, come join us in this Telegram channel. You can also write to me on this email. And if you want to take some initiative to contribute and give back to people among aspirants, as aspirants, if you want to contribute and teach other people, do reach out and learn from this community. Also, share this video to maximum people, to all your friends, to different groups, so that they also get this feeling of fullness and they also can help uh, themselves with revising properly the high intensity and mostly important topics for prelims 2026. Also subscribe to this channel. Let's move on. First start with polity and governance. What are the key topics which we are going to cover? Firstly, it is 130th and 131st constitutional amendments, which is very important. It has been in news a lot. Governor's role and key Supreme Court verdicts related to it is always an important theme to cover. Election Commission and electoral reforms, Parliament's powers, procedures, and privileges. Very important topics, both in terms of static as well as understanding conceptually, and it's always in news. Right to vote and representations of People's Act. We'll try to combine what is happening recently with the static themes. Federalism, center-state relations, judiciary, key doctrines, and key 2024 and 25 judgments. Lokpal, CAG, and accountability bodies, again, an evergreen theme, which has come in PYQs a lot, even last year. Anti-defection law and 10th schedule, always in news. Again, it was in news in the last cycle. Constitutional bodies versus statutory bodies. Now there is a theme of UPSC going into the depth of new bodies, into different kinds of themes regarding their structure, how they were formed, what are their members, what is their age, what is its function. Census 2027 and delimitation is of course going to be in the news, and fundamental rights are always in news related to some judgment or some news article or the other. Let's dive right into it. 130th and 131st constitutional amendments. There are various topics related to it here. The 130th CA came in 2025, which leads to automatic removal of PM, CM, or minister if they are held in custody for greater than 30 consecutive days for offense which is punishable by more than 5 years. Very important to note, if they are held in custody for greater than 30 consecutive days and for an offense which is punishable by more than 5 years. It amends Article 75 1B, 164 1B, and 239A, which triggers without conviction. Another very important point to note. So, they can be automatically removed without even conviction if they have been held in custody for more than 30 consecutive days for an offense of punishable by more than 5 years, which is unlike the Representation of People Act of 1951, where it needs conviction to happen for any such action to follow. 131st Amendment Bill of 2026, it expands Lok Sabha from 543 to 850 seats. It decouples delimitation from census so that southern states are not penalized for their population control measures, and Parliament can trigger it independently via resolution. It affects very important two articles. One is Article 81, which relates to Lok Sabha composition, and Article 82, which is related to delimitation. These two were amended because of the 131st CAA. Now, another very important topic in news right now is Women's Reservation Bill, which is 106th Constitutional Amendment Act, which is Nari Shakti Vandan Adhiniyam of 2023. It reserves 33% seats in Lok Sabha and state assemblies for 15 years. And the article which was impacted here was Article 334A, which was inserted. And it requires census and delimitation before taking effect. The earliest possible for this can be 2029 elections if census happens in 2027 and delimitations happens in 2028. So very important to remember, 106th CA, which is Women's Reservation, Nari Shakti Vandan Adhiniyam, 33% of seats in Lok Sabha and state legislative assemblies. The new article which is added is Article 334A. Please go through this article in detail. Then Article 368 procedure is amendments to fundamental rights require simple majority and ratification by more than 50% of the states. So if you want to amend a fundamental right, you should have a simple majority in the parliament as well as it needs to be ratified by more than 50% of the states. But amendments altering basic structure are unconstitutional, which was given in the Keshav Nanda Bharti case of 1973. Keshav Nanda Bharti case 1973 the Supreme Court defined a basic structure doctrine in which there are few elements of constitution which cannot be amended, which are sovereignty, democracy, secularism, federalism, separation of powers, judicial review, free and fair elections. So very important. If a question comes, which are the elements which are related to basic structure doctrine, then these are the elements: sovereignty, democracy, secularism, federalism, separation of powers, judicial review, free and fair elections, and also electoral integrity was also added through Indira Gandhi versus Raj Narayan case of 1975 during emergency. So these are the terms which you need to remember, which are part of your basic structure. Once this concept is clear, I think you will get questions correct even in mains. Now, every year, or this is a theme where UPSC asks about very important constitutional amendment acts. So the ones which you should remember are 101st CAA, which was related to GST 2016, then 102nd, which was related to NCBC, 103rd related to EWS 10% reservation, 104th is related to extended SC/ST reservation 2030. So this is very similar. Any reservation bill, be it SC/ST reservation bill or women's reservation bill, they're always inserted for some time period into the constitution, and then they have to be renewed once that time period is nearing to be over. So for women's reservation, it is also 15 years. SC/ST also it was renewed up till 2030. 105th Constitutional Amendment Act restored state power for preparing OBC lists. So these are the important CAs which you should remember, along with the 130th and 131st CA and 106th CA. Moving on. Governor's role and key SC verdicts are very important. So Articles 153 to 167 in the Constitution, go through them in detail. I always say that the most important preparation for polity is going through the Constitution in detail. You should actually go through each and every article and note down the key words given in each and every article, because UPSC has a tendency to ask directly from these articles and then make changes in those terms or ask the fundamental concepts related to those terms. We will see in money bill, financial bill also. UPSC has done this numerous times. So Article 153 to 167 are related to governor as constitutional head of a state. Article 163 relates to aid and advice of Council of Ministers through which the governor should act. Article 200, again very important, related to assenting, withholding and reserving bills which are coming to governor. Article 201 is where governor can reserve a bill for president's action, which is president's reservation. Article 356, again a very important article related to president's rule, and its discretion has been strictly limited by Sthitpragya Commission and Pucci Commission regarding the president's rule. Sthitpragya Commission came in 1988. There has been questions which UPSC has asked related to both these commissions previously. Tamil Nadu Governor case, Supreme Court in April 2025. Supreme Court used its special powers under Article 142. Again, a very important article. There have been PYQs in which directly this article has been asked. Uh, so SC has used the special articles to grant deemed assent to 10 bills which were withheld since 2023 by the Tamil Nadu governor. And Article 200 requires governor to act in three ways only, which is assent, withhold, or reserve. But there is no indefinite pocket veto. Also, the constitution has not defined till when or what is the time period through which the governor can withhold that bill. And hence, Supreme Court has stepped in through the Tamil Nadu governor case, in which Supreme Court has now fixed timelines. For a governor, they must now act within 1 month of the representation of the bill, and president must act within 3 months. So they cannot sit on the bill. Both the governor and the president, they cannot sit on the bill indefinitely now. They have timelines of 1 month and 3 months, which is fixed by the Supreme Court. And it is applicable to president to Kerala, Punjab, and Telangana's pending cases. Punjab governor case in 2023, the Supreme Court ruled that governor cannot indefinitely defer summoning budget session because it is dilutory to the it dilutes actually the basic parliamentary democracy, which is a basic structure component of our constitution. Hence, not only in terms of giving timelines for withholding a bill, Supreme Court has also told that even calling the session of the legislature has certain timelines, and you cannot dilute the parliamentary democracy here, which is a basic structure component. Very important case related to governor's powers and speaker's powers is Nabam Rabia case of 2016, in which speaker cannot decide upon the disqualification petitions when a motion for removal of speaker is pending. And this is related to the anti-defection and governor interaction point. So if any disqualification petition, 10th schedule application has come to the light of the speaker, they cannot decide upon it if there is a motion of removal for the speaker itself. Again, a very important case related to it is Shamsher Singh case of 1974, where it was told that governor must act on cabinet advice in virtually all cases, which is related to Article 163 of Aid and Advice with the Council of Ministers. And in SR Bammai case of 1994, Article 356 related to President's rule was declared justiciable. That is, Supreme Court and High Court can take it under its cognizance, or they can give judgments regarding to it. And floor test has become mandatory before dismissal of a legislature. Also, President's rule now requires Lok Sabha approval, or President's rule always requires Lok Sabha approval within 2 months. It is given in the Article 356. So read these articles in detail in the Constitution. Moving on, Election Commission and electoral reforms. Well, there was an act recently, 2023, in which the method of selection of CEC or their appointment was changed. CEC and other EC's Appointment Act 2023, where the selection panel now is composed of Prime Minister, Leader of Opposition, and Cabinet Minister nominated by the PM. So effectively, it is 2:1 in the favor of the government. Earlier, there was an SC mandated panel included, which it included CGI also. But now CGI is not a part of this panel to choose the CEC and other ECs. Article 324 becomes very important here, where superintendent's direction and control of elections are defined, and the powers of election commission are derived through this article of 324. CEC is removable like any Supreme Court judge, so it is very important as a part of static that you know how a Supreme Court judge or a High Court judge can be removed. What is the difference between those two procedures? And CEC, so equivalence also, that what is the equivalence of CEC? It is equivalent to a Supreme Court judge removal. How can a speaker be removed? How can a governor be removed? A president, a prime minister? All of this you should know as part of your static knowledge. While the other ECs can be removed only on CEC recommendation. So it creates a power asymmetry, which raises independence concerns on the ECs, because CEC, removing CEC is a long process. It is under constitutional protection like a SC judge, but any other EC can be removed only on CEC recommendation. So that leads to power asymmetry. Now, the salary and status of CEC has been downgraded to equated with the cabinet secretary, which is 2.5 lakhs per month fixed. It has DA and emoluments above it. It is now not similar to a Supreme Court judge as it was earlier. So SC is also examining the constitutional validity of this in 2025. One Nation, One Election through 129th Bill, December 2024 came. Kovind Committee was set up for it, and it recommended simultaneous elections in Lok Sabha as well as state assembly elections. It did not include municipalities and rural or panchayat elections. It recommended a two-step transition. The articles which were changed due to it was Articles 82A, 83(3) and 172(3), which were inserted. And municipality elections would need to happen within 100 days of the Lok Sabha and State Assembly elections. So, one nation, one election, Articles 82A, which is related to delimitation. Article 82 is related to delimitation. Article 82A is related to one nation, one election. Other articles related to it was Article 83(3), 172(3), and Kovind Committee was set up for it. Electoral bond scheme was struck down by Supreme Court in February 2024 because it violated the Article 19(1)A of Right to Information, and it ordered the SBI and ECA to disclose data. Anonymity to donors was held unconstitutional because it was violating Article 19(1)A of Right to Information, which is a fundamental right under the Constitution. Under the VVPAT verification, SC declined to order 100% VVPAT counting because it would have led to massive administrative overheads, and also it upheld the ECI's existing protocol. EVM VVPAT case reinforced ECI's autonomy. One very important point is Model Code of Conduct does not have any statutory backing, but it is binding. It is very important point to note that MCC does not have any law, but it is still binding as given by the Supreme Court. Now coming on to Parliament's powers, procedures and privileges. Well, Money Bill is given in Article 110. Please go through all these articles from, in fact, entire Constitution again, but at least from 103, 105 parliamentary privileges to different kinds of articles, because UPSC has entirely taken these articles word by word and put it as questions or as options and then juggled around with a few very key terms inside those articles. So you need to know these articles and exact words in these articles by heart. So, Money Bill Article 110 deals with exclusively taxes, borrowing, Consolidated Fund of India, public account. Speaker's certificate is conclusive here, very important. And Rajya Sabha can only recommend, not amend. Must be returned in 14 days, otherwise it is deemed passed. So, Rajya Sabha does not have amending powers here, and if they do not return the bill within 14 days, it is deemed passed. President cannot withhold assent to it. So, in Money Bill, the Speaker's certificate is conclusive, and President has to give assent. Financial Bill 1 is given by Article 117(1), which is related to tax and other provisions. It can originate only in Lok Sabha because mostly taxation powers are given only to Lok Sabha. A slight difference here is it needs President's recommendation, Financial Bill 1 or Article 117(1). And Rajya Sabha here has full powers to amend or reject this bill. Financial Bill 2, which is given by Article 117(3), it only involves CFI, which is Consolidated Fund of India expenditure, and it has ordinary bill procedure. So a key difference between Money Bill Article 110 and Financial Bill 1, Article 117(1), is Speaker's certificate being conclusive in Money Bill and President's recommendation needed in Financial Bill 1. Also, Rajya Sabha not being able to amend and only recommending powers in Money Bill, but it has power to reject and amend in Financial Bill 1. Financial Bill 3 is just like any other ordinary bill pertaining to CFI expenditure. Guillotine is a very important term. It is always in news because unspent demands for grants voted on last day of budget session without discussion. So it gives exceptional power exercise when Parliament runs out of time. Government mostly uses it to pass other things too along with demand for grants during guillotine period because no discussion happens. Parliamentary privileges, very important article, Article 105 for Parliament and Article 194 for state legislatures. It says that freedom of speech in the House and no court proceedings for voting or speech can happen. So in polity, you should not apply rules. You should always go with knowledge. So extreme statements like no court proceedings for vote and speech will actually be correct because it is constitutionally given. If you'd read this article, you would know. But in PV Narasimha Rao case 1998, it was held that bribery for vote is not covered by the privilege. Supreme Court 5-judge bench is reviewing it in 2024. So bribery is not covered under the privilege, but freedom of speech and voting in the House is absolute. There cannot be any court proceedings for vote or speech. Then ethics committee was also in news because of questions for bribe by some MPs, in which so ethics committee of Lok Sabha, it was formed in 2000. It has 15 members. It investigates the unethical conduct of MPs. It is different from the privileges committee, which has 15 Lok Sabha and 10 Rajya Sabha members. Privileges committee looks into the breach of privilege and distinct bodies. These two are distinct bodies with different jurisdictions. So you should know about the various committees of parliament, their composition, their members, and what are their objectives when they were formed. This comes as a part of your static, which because it always remains in news, one or the other committee always remains in news. So UPSC can always ask an unrelated committee, and you cannot say that it was not in news because it was a part of static, because some or the other committee is always in news. Now, joint sitting of the parliament through Article 108, it can only be called by president on the deadlock after greater than equal to 6 months on any bill. It is presided by the Lok Sabha speaker. Money bills and constitutional amendment bills cannot go to joint sitting. It can be used. It is used only thrice. So this is a very important fact or nugget which you should know. Till now, it has been used only thrice, which is Dowry Prohibition Law in 1961, Banking Service Commission in 1978, and Prevention of Terrorism in 2002. All of these come under the themes of Evergreen plus PYQs, which are related to current affairs right now. Now, let's come to Right to Vote and Representation of People Act. Well, Supreme Court in its ruling in April 2026 said that right to vote is a statutory right under Section 62 of Representation of People Act 1951. It is not a fundamental right under Part 3. Well, UPSC has asked this question in right to vote, and then it has deemed it to be a constitutional right. So UPSC answer key has deemed right to vote to be a constitutional right. Supreme Court in its ruling now in April 2026 has said that right to vote is a statutory right. It is not a fundamental right. So again, if the question comes, then I think one should go with either UPSC's answer of constitutional right or what Supreme Court has said, that it is a statutory right. It is not a fundamental right, that's for sure. But Article 326 of the Constitution grants adult suffrage, but Parliament can impose reasonable restrictions through law, and hence it is not a fundamental right. Article 326 of the Constitution, again, read the entire Constitution very properly. Article 326 is very important, where it grants adult suffrage, but also Parliament can impose reasonable restrictions through law. Right to stand before election or for election, it is also statutory right. It is not a fundamental right. But the right to know about antecedents of candidates, it is a fundamental right under Article 19(1)(a), which is right to information. And it was given in the PUCL versus Union of India case in 2003. So very important concepts, very important high probability topics here. Right to vote, statutory right, not a fundamental right. Statutory right under RPA, which is Representation of People Act 1951. Article 326 has some reasonable restrictions which can be imposed on universal adult suffrage. Right to stand for election, again a statutory right, not a fundamental right. But to know about your candidates or their antecedents, that's a fundamental right under 19(1)(a), which is given by PUCL versus Union of India case 2003. Grounds for disqualification under ROPA, well, conviction for greater than 2 years imprisonment under Section 8 of Representation of People Act 1951, or they are declared insolvent, non-citizen, of unsound mind, corrupt practice, bribery, undue influence, and false statement. So very important. Bribery, corrupt practices, etc. are not defined by Constitution, but corrupt practices are defined in Representation of People Act as bribery or giving undue influence or giving false statements. So how can a candidate be disqualified? Well, these are the methods. If they are convicted for more than 2 years of imprisonment under Section 8, if they are declared insolvent, non-citizen, unsound mind, and corrupt practices. Section 8A of the RPA says disqualification on conviction of electoral offences leads to 6-year ban after serving sentence. So let's say you have served your sentence. After serving that sentence, you will be disqualified for another 6 years to take part in the electoral process. Section 9 of RPA says that dismissal from the government service for corruption and disloyalty. So these are very important sections of RPA. One should also actually go in detail through Representation of People Act, because UPSC has asked questions from different sections of RPA. If I remember, they have also asked related questions to Section 4, Section 3, and Section 5, apart from Section 8 and Section 9. Then registration of Section 62 of 5 of RPA, a person in lawful custody can vote if facilities provided. So this is very important. Can a person vote from jail? Yes. A person in lawful custody can vote if the facility is provided. This is given under the RPA. So anything related to voting, standing for elections, whether they can vote from custody or not, it is covered by the Representation of People Act. Section 62(1), every person registered in constituency is entitled to vote, which is a foundational fundamental right and statutory right distinction. Symbols Order of 1968. Well, ECI allocates symbols. Reserved symbols are for national and state parties. It is free for others. Status: six national parties as of 2024 are this: BJP, INC, BSP, NCP, CPI, and CPIM. So as of 2024, there are six national parties. AAP lost its national party status in 2023. So symbols order, one thing to remember is reserved symbols for national and state parties, while it is free for others. Free means they will be allocated before elections. So Representation of People Act is very important. Go through it in detail, understand its all sections. Now coming on to federalism, center-state relations. Schedule 7. So you should go through all the schedules of the constitution also in great detail, especially Schedule 7, Schedule 8, where there are lists which are given. Now UPSC has also gone inside these lists and asked about various powers in these lists. So you should have broad knowledge of what kind of subjects are inside union list, which are 98 subjects, then state lists, which has 59 subjects, and concurrent list, which has 52 subjects. Residuary powers, which are not covered under any of these lists, lies with the center, which is given by Article 248 and also entry 97 of the list in Schedule 7. So very important things to remember. Schedule 7 has list related to powers of union, state, and concurrent. Union has 98 subjects, state has 59, concurrent has 52. The article related to it is 248 in the Constitution, and entry 97 says that residuary powers lies with the center. Article 249 states that Rajya Sabha can legislate on state list if national interest issue is concerned. So, Rajya Sabha can also legislate on state list if there is an issue of national interest, which can be both security, sovereignty, or anything. But it requires two-third resolution of the Rajya Sabha. And Article 250 is invoked during national emergency. So, if a question comes that whether center or Rajya Sabha can make laws on state list, yes, during special provisions, it is given by Article 249 and Article 250 during national emergency. Then coming on to Article 356, which is President's Rule. We have also covered this under the Governor section. So it comes into immediate effect and you require Lok Sabha's approval within 2 months of having this President's Rule. It can happen to a maximum of total 3 years. But 44th Constitutional Amendment Act said that it can be extended up till 6 months. So what are the key things to remember? Lok Sabha approval within 2 months, max 3 years can be, President's rules can be for max 3 years, and it can be extended only for a period of 6 months, given by 44th Constitutional Amendment. 44th Constitutional Amendment, 42nd Constitutional Amendment. In fact, all the important constitutional amendments like 35, 36th, 38th, 44th, 13th, 9th, 1st, 7th, these are very important constitutional amendments. 1st, 7th, 9th, 36th, 35th, 38th, 42nd, 44th, and then we have also studied the recent ones from 101st to 130th, 131st. These are very important constitutional amendments. Do go through them. Go through SR Bommai case, which is related to governor power, president's rule. Lok Sabha must approve before revoking. In this, it was given in SR Bommai case. And till now, it has been imposed more than 125 times. Key areas being Northeast, Bihar, UP, most frequent. Article 263 relates to Interstate Council, which is constitutional body. It is chaired by the Prime Minister. Punchi Commission recommended activation for cooperative federalism. So Interstate Council, it needs to be reactivated. That's what Punchi Commission recommended for cooperative federalism. Zonal councils, which are statutory bodies. So this again has been evergreen part of the PYQs. Zonal councils versus interstate councils. Zonal council is a statutory body. It comes under the Ministry of Home Affairs, and it has 5 councils plus Northeastern Council, which is made by another act. So very important. Read about the zonal councils. There are 5 zonal councils, and also read about the Northeastern Council. Read about the acts through which they have been formed. And Interstate Council, go through the Article 263. Also go through Punchi Commission and Sarkaria Commission's recommendations. Now, 16th Finance Commission has been awarded. It is under the chair of Dr. Arvind Panagaria, and the award period is from 2026 to 2031. 15th Finance Commission gave 41% vertical share. So it was a question which was asked in 2025 regarding 45%. No, it was 41% only which was given. And 16th Finance Commission terms of references also include defense financing, disaster management fund, and fiscal performance till now. Now, GST Council, Article 279A, very important. 101st Constitutional Amendment Act, we have seen it before. Union has 1/3 of the voting share, states have 2/3 of the voting share, but to reach any consensus, it requires 3/4 of the majority of decision, and hence center has effective veto. It means that you need 75% of the vote for decisions, and center has 33% of the voting share. Hence, without center, nothing can pass through GST Council. Supreme Court in 2022 clarified that GST Council recommendations are not binding. States do retain legislative sovereignty. It is very important related to taxation powers of the state and having fiscal independence within the states. And hence, Supreme Court clarified that GST Council recommendations are not binding, but in practice, mostly they are followed by all the states. But states do retain legislative sovereignty. So do not get confused in the exams if GST Council recommendations are told to be binding. Now, Niti Aayog versus Planning Commission. Well, Planning Commission was a quasi-constitutional status body. It had the power to allocate funds, and it is defunct now. From 1950 to 2014, it functioned. Niti Aayog is more like an advisory body. Recently, it was reconstructed with its vice chairman being made as Dr. Ashok Lahiri, along with very few eminent members appointed as its council members. Its CEO is different, that is Mr. BVR Subramaniam, and its vice chairman, who directly reports to the Prime Minister, is different. The head of Niti Aayog is Prime Minister. So it is only an advisory body. It has no fund allocation. It comes out with very important indices and programs like Aspirational Districts Program and SDG India Index. I'll stop here. I'll continue with more sessions. Hope you are engrossed into these sessions. Whatever I am recommending in terms of going through, revising the constitution itself and reading the static topics, please listen to it very carefully and do revise all those topics before going into the examination. That will not only do wonders for your confidence, but you'll also actually be knowledgeable while understanding or looking at various options when polity questions come to you. So read a lot of static, whatever I have recommended, go through the topics which I have covered till now. I'll cover more topics in the coming sessions, and take a screenshot of these slides so that you can revise them quickly just before the examination. And do go through the videos to have that conceptual understanding. Thank you.